Port Moresby police stop public gatherings. Fraud squad office reopened by police. And Eda Ranu says water flow to city will continue uninterrupted.
This is National EMTV News with Hope Imaka.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. This is Monday's news. The National Fraud and Anti-Corruption Headquarters in Port Moresby was reopened this afternoon. The office has been under lockdown for 3 weeks by Police Commissioner Gary Baki. The reopening of the Fraud Squad office will see officers continue their normal duties, but this time any high-profile cases will first have to go through a vetting committee. Quinton Alom reports.
The National Fraud and Anti-Corruption Directorate office was reopened at 3 o'clock this afternoon by Deputy Police Commissioner Operations Jim Andrews. Keys were handed over to Chief Investigator Matthew Damaru and his men were allowed to continue their work. Police Commissioner Gary Baki was not present at the time when the gates were opened. However, members of the fraud unit had met with Commissioner and other senior staff at the police headquarters 2 hours before the Commissioner gave the green light for the office to be reopened. The operations of the National Fraud and Anti-Corruption Directorate will not be changed. However, only one direction was issued for the investigators to comply with, and that was for every high-profile case investigated by the fraud officers to now go through a vetting committee before charges are laid.
Especially high-profile cases will have to go through the vetting committee, and the vetting committee will go through a file, and if they satisfy that the evidence is there, the file will come back straight to the Assistant Commissioner of Crimes, to the Director of Fraud, to go ahead with the.
The committee will deliberate on evidences provided and to maintain trust, accountability, and reporting to the Commissioner.
Members of the committee will comprise of the Deputy Commissioner of Operations, Deputy Commissioner of Administration, Assistant Commissioner of Crimes, and then there are others, plus the Deputy Public Prosecutor.
The committee, which is the vetting committee, it's for me to be like appearing before the judge and presenting my case. But that's a process. So I'm sure we'll be able to fit into the system, into the process, and then process all the cases. Yeah.
The fraud office was closed on the 18th last month by Commissioner Baki. Following that, fraud officers were ordered to return all firearms and vehicles. But after 3 weeks, the office was reopened, bringing much relief to the officers.
I think the guys are happy to be getting into the office after 3 weeks of roaming the streets.
The closure of the office has led to public criticism and protest by university students and union groups. The RPNGC is now appealing to protesting students to return to class. Quinton Alom, National EMTV News.
Attorney General and Justice Minister Arno Pala is in the process of joining the court case dealing with Matthew Damaru's recent suspension in April. The joint application was filed this morning by his lawyer Ralph Saulep. Saulep argued that the Attorney General, by virtue of the office, should have been part of the matter since the beginning. They hope to join the matter as third defendant, making the state the fourth defendant. The submission also questions the engagement of Australian lawyer Greg Egan and Gemma lawyers to represent Matthew Damaru and his deputy Timothy Gitua in this matter. We'll have more on the current student unrest. That story after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Anti-corruption activist Brian Kremer says he and his supporters will continue to pursue the call for the Prime Minister to step down from office after police dispersed a meeting at Unagi Oval in Port Moresby today. Students at the University of Papua New Guinea have also mobilized to discuss a voting process that will determine their status on the protest. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill took out a full two-page statement in one of the dailies stating his claims to the Paul Paraka case that is now at the center of the political crisis. Erica Rupma with this report.
A peaceful protest planned for today in Port Moresby by University of Papua New Guinea students and civil society members to petition Prime Minister Peter O'Neill to step down was stopped by police. In the first instance at UPNG, the Students' Representative Council members held discussions for a referendum in order to vote for a protest. Even this is yet to be sanctioned by the UPNG administration. In the second instance, civil society members, after meeting Police Commissioner Gary Bucky, told EMTV that Commissioner Bucky said any protest is illegal without a police permit as stipulated under the Good Order Act. This was evident when police dispersed crowds gathering in the city. Activist Noel Anjo and delegation had requested a meeting with Commissioner Bucky when NCD police prevented the proposed public rally from taking place this morning. Civil society member and anti-corruption activist Brian Kramer spoke to MTV about their next course of action.
Then went and spoke to Mr. Turi and explained to the police that, well, all the members of the crowd or the public agreed that we will go down to the police station, we'll be charged. And I said I'd pay for their bail, and we come out.
NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Chief Inspector Benjamin Turi has rejected the application on public safety grounds. He said this is to avoid opportunists from causing trouble, thus maintaining law and order in the city. However, activist Kramer said all avenues have not been exhausted.
I believe that both the SRC student representatives of both Unitec and UPNG are currently in the process of obtaining their lawful approval.
Meanwhile, schools were closed and students had to return home in fear of their safety.
There was going to be this protest. We had to cancel classes because of safety reasons. Opportunists, by about this time they usually, look for opportunities, and sometimes they can damage vehicles, and sometimes they can harass students or teachers.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, in a full-page national newspaper article, responded that he respects the students' constitutional rights, but these matters raised up before the courts. Mr. O'Neill highlighted these key facts in relation to proceeds of crime pertaining to the Paul Paraka saga, attached with an article he claims have been forged. He also questioned why the fraud squad and task force sweep are targeting him alone. Erica Rupma, National MTV News.
General Secretary of the Trade Union Congress, John Pasca, says the current student boycott is threatening the country's democracy. He urged the students to return to classes until all legal processes were exhausted. Pasca stressed that unless the Prime Minister has been pronounced guilty by a proper court and still refuses to step aside, student demonstrations at this point challenge the basic legal principle that presumes every individual innocent unless proven guilty. Meanwhile, he has called on workers throughout the country not to join the protest, saying any demonstration is legally baseless and employers have every right to terminate those who refuse to comply. Despite rumors that water supply in the nation's capital will stop due to a looming protest today, supplier Eda Ranu says water flow will not be disrupted. Eda Ranu chairlady Mary Caro brushed aside comments on social media that water will stop today, saying they are not taking part in the strike. False information had gone viral on Facebook, but Eda Ranu says supplying water is the company's main obligation and they will continue to do so.
From Eda Ranu's standpoint, I want to make one thing very clear to the general public. We are not here to participate in any protest whatsoever. Our business is in the delivery of services, and Eda Ranu does not anticipate any shutdown. We're just on standby for any reports of minor leakages and things like that.
Justice Sir Bernard Sakora's lawyer, Loani Henau, filed a submission today at the Waigani Committal Court for the case to be dismissed. He told the presiding magistrate, Cosmas Bidar, that there was no direction from the public prosecutor to prosecute Sir Bernard. However, the informant from the fraud office, Joel Simitab, commenced without jurisdiction. Henao also said that even if there was a direction from the public prosecutor, the charge against Sir Bernard and the warrant of arrest that was issued was in bad law and it was not signed by a magistrate. Because of these, he asked that the proceedings be dismissed, Sir Bernard be discharged forthwith, and his 1,000 kina bail money be refunded. Sir Bernard was charged for official corruption in April. Education Minister Nick Kuman has called on instigators of protest marches to leave schools alone and not disturb classes that is important for their future. The Education Minister called on all heads of educational institutions not to cancel classes as it is not a direction from the department.
What has transpired since last week, calling on the Prime Minister, Peter O'Neill, to step aside with protest should not involve students. Minister Kuman says the instigators of the protest should be mindful of the impacts it would have on students and their education.
As the minister responsible for the school system in the country, 2 million students and 50,000 teachers in the country, I'm calling on the leaders of the civil society, groups who are going on social media to get us support for the planned nationwide stop work protest to leave the schools and the students and the teachers out of this plan.
Minister Kuman said the Education Department is concerned with the manner in which leaders of various civil society groups have gone on social media like Facebook, calling on schools to stop classes.
You've got set programs to run, and I expect the teachers to be in classes, and the students to be in classes as of 8 o'clock tomorrow.
The Education Department was concerned that classes have been unnecessarily disrupted today due to actions of several people. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
Health centers in Madang are in dire need of incinerators to burn medical wastes, especially sharp objects. This is crucial because patients and health workers are at risk of contracting diseases as a result of rubbish left in the open. Rachel Shise in Madang visited 3 clinics and looks at Madang Town Clinic, situated in the heart of town.
The medical wastes are thrown outside for most of the clinics, and the Madang Town Clinic, right in the town area, is no exception. They need incinerators to get rid of the rubbish. The risk of contracting other illnesses from these rubbish lying around in the open, especially with the biomedical waste from used sharps like syringes and needles. It is a must that health workers handle sharps safely and dispose effectively, but the health workers are not able to do so, which may be the cause of why the number of patients are increasing and the same patients are coming back.
Now patients are coming in from Modilon Hospital and nearly all parts of Madang.
The clinic itself needs a major overhaul. The space is confined, and so some medicine cartons are left outside, and as a result of being exposed, they too become part of the medical wastes.
It's because of the spacing problem that we have to put them outside. We cannot get the medication, the cartons in here.
This risky situation is not only a threat to the patients, but the health workers as well. The patients come to the clinics sick, therefore their bodies are weak and can pick up other diseases. The health workers, on the other hand, have no choice but spend their working days around this rubbish for as long as they serve the government at these clinics. There are other serious matters, from the state of the building to the medicine supplies, all falling back to the clinic staff to improvise and keep the clinics going.
Our boss looks at but what we can, we are just helping our patients and our people.
Rachel Shise, National MTV News, Madang.
Churches have a prophetic role to play in the Pacific societies and must continue the work of Christ by speaking out in the face of injustice. This is from the Pacific Conference of Churches General Secretary, Reverend Francois Piha Atae, while speaking on the challenges that are facing the churches and communities in the Pacific. Reverend Francois is on a preliminary visit to PNG to meet with leaders of member churches leading up to an interfaith gathering that will be held in October this year in Goroka.
Reverend Francois said there are many challenges in the Pacific that churches must speak out about. Originally from Tahiti, he said what happened 50 years ago in the Pacific with nuclear testing is a hard lesson to learn that should not be easily forgotten.
They stopped those testing, but the effect is still felt in Micronesia, in Marshalls, in French Polynesia, and what they created, there's a lot of loss from the cultural aspect of all the people affected, loss of traditional home, culture, and other things that people is called as with its own identity. That's the effect of nuclear testing, and that effect is still impacting the life of our people.
He said there are developments in the Pacific that have raised concerns, and specifically in PNG, the push for seabed mining to begin is worrying.
But Papua New Guinea today, where there's a new kind of technology they want to test, and that in the seabed mining. So again, I think it's time to say stop to look at us like guinea pig.
He said since the PCC became aware of seabed mining in the Pacific, it has become part of their agenda since 2013.
The other Pacific islands are very concerned about the seabed mining, so that's why we take up the issue on our agenda, and it will be implemented sometime either in October or September.
On the issue of whether or not churches should become involved in political or social development issues, he said while churches have a spiritual responsibility towards the people, they must also speak out about issues that will impact their livelihoods.
If the churches are speaking out today, because the church should play the prophetic role. Whenever something wrong is done to the people, the church must stand and speak out to those who are doing injustices to our people, or doing wrong to our people. That's, I think, what Jesus has done in his time should continue through the churches. We cannot just sit or sleep in our comfort zone and let the people suffer.
Sarah Aupong, National MTV News.
Popondetta Town's notorious Guba Market was officially declared closed today. All makeshift market stalls were destroyed after a police vehicle was attacked over the weekend. Provincial Police Commander Lincoln Gerari, who ordered the closure of the informal market, says the move had to be made following continuous reports of law and order issues.
Guba Market is an informal market created by settlers who moved to town after being displaced by the Cyclone Guba disaster in 2007. It is situated about a kilometer away from Bangaho Market, which is the main market. PPC Gerari says the situation escalated when a police vehicle's rear windscreen was smashed when policemen entered the market area to attend to an attempted murder complaint. The informal market is known for both daily petty and serious crimes.
Okay, this Guba market, I declare this market as Sodom and Gomorrah on the fact that there has been a lot of killings, people have been attacked by bush knives, selling drugs, selling homemade brew, and all that. So this is a law and order problem in the market. So I have to step in and close this market
PPC Garari then, armed with police personnel and a backhoe, revisited the area to physically stop vendors from operating. He says the area will remain shut indefinitely and all vendors must go back to the town-commissioned Bangaho market to sell their goods. The PPC also explained that the piece of land Guba Market occupies has been legally attained by a company who intends to build a supermarket. However, plans for this has been stalled.
But because of this market, they were waiting until the market is closed. Now that we have closed the market, these companies can move in there and build their supermarket. I have given notice to those settlers at the back of the market. I gave them until 30th of July to move out of that land. That land is customary land and that settlement is illegal.
Vanessa Knight, National EMTV News.
And now looking at our finance news. The Kina opened unchanged at $0.3165 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.3090 US, $0.4158 Australian dollars, $0.2681 euro and 32.91 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, cocoa and copper closed lower while coffee closed the day higher. Palm oil, crude oil and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 79.92 points higher, the ASX closed at 28.65 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 29.23 points higher. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. President of the PNG Teachers Association, Ugwalubu Moana, was arrested by police this morning from his home in Gerahu. Moana was charged on 2 accounts of sexual assault of 2 fellow female staff members of PNGTA. Police say this is not the first time he was arrested on similar accounts. Moana, who was recently elected in a controversial appointment to head the PNG Trade Union Congress, is currently being questioned by the Criminal Investigations Division. EMTV was prevented from getting a comment from Moana today, but a source from the Trade Union Congress said Moana would most probably be stripped of presidency and expelled from the TUC. Lay's Markham Road Primary School head teacher Sam Nalong has questioned the process involved to obtain a third of TFF funds for schools in Moresby. He said this following this year's changes in education policy. 60% of a school's TFF funds go to other parties. 30% of the funds are given to district education accounts to distribute for infrastructure development.
The head teacher raised his concerns following a cut in its operational funds or cash administration income. The school situated in the city has an annual enrollment of 2,000 students and funds are limited to build more classrooms to resolve overcrowding. The head teacher says more consultation between schools and districts is needed to identify what's lacking at the school levels.
30% that goes to district treasury and 30% that was held back for teaching and learning. As I said, we do not know how we will go about it, because there is no direct instruction from the district to us. But some of us, we already make submission, because our money, that 30% is not enough, but at least we make submission and proposal.
In March this year, the school received less than 50,000 kina in its first quarter of 2016 TFF payment. The head teacher says what the school receives can only cater for bills and other minor school-related expenses. The head teacher admits this year's policy changes in distribution of education grants have affected the overall operations of the school, unlike previous years.
But as usual, we manage within that. Not like the other previous years when we charge parents to pay project fee in full. And we have substantial amount of money.
What this school and the other schools in the province want is that all funds must be paid directly to schools ready for execution on school projects. Colin Barlai, National EMTV News, Leh.
The Catholic Bishops' Conference has commemorated the 50th World Communications Day. It was an opportunity for media personnel to discuss communication methods to deliver God's message of unity, love and peace in the country.
The theme highlights capacity of good communication to open up a space for dialogue, mutual understanding and reconciliation, allowing fruitful human encounters to flourish. In its essence, communication is a profoundly human achievement and has the power to build bridges, enabling encounter and inclusion, and enrich society, possibly in the material and digital world. The choice of this year's theme clearly determines celebration of the Jubilee Year of Mercy. Pope Francis says, "We are called to communicate without exception." In the letter, Pope Francis says, communication is a gift of God which involves a great responsibility and power of closeness, and all people of goodwill to rediscover the power of mercy, to heal wounded relationships and restore peace and harmony to families and communities. Yesterday, the Social Communications Board of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of PNG and Solomon Islands commemorated the 50 years of Golden Jubilee at the Shrine of Mary, Help of Christians at Don Bosco Technological Institute, Port Moresby. A communications meeting was held for media personnel that reflected on the media as a means of communication and a source of natural unity. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
And now heading overseas, Australia will go to the polls on July 2nd. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull revealed yesterday, formally kicking off a 2-month election campaign that is expected to focus on the flagging economy and hot-button issues like the country's tough asylum seeker policy. The Australian Prime Minister called the elections months earlier than originally expected.
After meeting with the Governor-General and arranging for both houses of Parliament to be dissolved this morning, Turnbull spoke to waiting media where he warned that Australians faced a stark choice.
I have returned from visiting the Governor-General, as you've observed, and the Governor-General has accepted my advice to dissolve both houses of Parliament, effective tomorrow morning, and call an election for both houses, a double dissolution, on the 2nd of July. At this election, Australians will have a very clear choice: to keep the course, maintain the commitment to our national economic plan for growth and jobs, or go back to Labor with its higher taxing, higher spending, debt and deficit agenda.
The official kick-off comes just days after the Liberal-led coalition government delivered an annual budget that urged Australians to live within their means. A decade-plus mining boom in resource-rich Australia and plummeting commodity prices has left the government struggling to raise revenue, and as a result, the country's ruling government was unable to offer too many vote-winning incentives in its annual spending plan. However, Turnbull held out the promise of an unprecedented future if Australians were willing to pursue it and had the will to endure.
I will be seeking a mandate from the Australian people as the Prime Minister of this country to carry out this plan, because we know that it will lay the way, clear the way for us to have the greatest years in our nation's history.
Turnbull also reiterated the country's stand on border security, and he took the opportunity to undermine the opposition party's strategy.
We will maintain our border protection policies. Australians know that we will keep our borders secure. They know that the coalition, totally united, is committed to keeping our borders safe.
With the polls narrowing, the government is keen to persuade voters that it alone can be trusted to manage an economy hampered by a once-in-a-century mining downturn and balance public finances after years of deficits.
Everything Labor is doing is absolutely calculated to stop our economic progress in its tracks. And that is why we are asking the Australian people for the privilege of governing this country for 3 more years to secure our prosperity, to secure our future. Thank you very much.
Vanessa Knight, EMTV World News.
The historic election in London, Labour Party candidate Sadiq Khan is the city's first ever Muslim mayor. He defeated consecutive rival Zach Goldsmith. Goldsmith has been criticised for trying to link Khan to extremism. Khan has promised to be a mayor for all Londoners.
This hasn't happened in London before.
I therefore declare Sadiq Khan to be elected as the new Mayor of London.
A Muslim elected as this city's new mayor.
I never dreamt that someone like me could be elected as Mayor of London. And I want to say thank you to every single Londoner for making the impossible possible today.
Sadiq Khan is the son of a London bus driver. He mentioned that a few times through his campaign. His parents were Pakistani immigrants. They lived in public housing. He went to state schools. He then became a lawyer, member of parliament and government minister. More than 12% of Londoners are Muslims, and many are thrilled about Khan's new job.
I think it's a big victory, to be honest, and I'm feeling proud as a Muslim because you see the situation that's going on with Muslims and all around the world and everything.
Khan's win defies a political trend dividing Western nations.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
Across America and Europe, Islam has become an emotive, often fearful political issue after large terror strikes in the US, France and Belgium.
Londoners have also known terrorism and live with its constant threat. Sadiq Khan's supporters say his win in this election shows many people here are very comfortable with the clear difference between those who murder in the name of Islam and the rest of the Muslim community.
But extremism was still an issue in this political race. Khan's opponent, his cultural and political opposite, the wealthy, white, Conservative Party candidate Zach Goldsmith, tried to link Khan to people said to support radical Islam. Fellow Conservative David Cameron repeated the claims in Parliament.
Well, he stood on a platform with people who wanted an Islamic state.
The effort was dismissed as dog whistle racism by people on all sides of politics, and it did little to change voters' thinking. Perhaps difficult to smear Khan with extremism after he voted in favour of legalising gay marriage.
And I'm so proud that London has today chosen hope over fear and unity over division.
The Mayor of London manages day-to-day issues like planning, transport, housing and police. It's a big job, but it's not the stuff of big political vision. Sadiq Khan's election marks an historic and cultural milestone for an international city long proud of its diversity.
Trukai Sports is next. Details when we come back.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Member of the PNG Peppers, Captain Lua Rikis, has stated that while the international season for the national netball team will commence later on in the year, her teammates are doing what they can to keep fit, playing for their domestic clubs. Rikis was part of her City Pharmacy Rebels outfit when EMTV caught up with her over the weekend.
With the international season approaching toward the latter part of the year, members of the national netball team, the Peppers, have been using the capital's netball competition to maintain their fitness prior to the matches.
Well, I think everyone's just concentrating on club at the moment. We do our own fitness. We still get together once in a while to go to the gym, but everyone's concentrating on club. I think we have something on in July, I'm not too sure, but the tournament's in September, so that's what we're going to be preparing for this year.
While the intensity in the domestic competition is still slower than on the international scene, Rickes states that passing on her experience to teammates is also important.
It's different to what we're to the international standard, so it's a bit slow, but I mean, and then we have to come back and play with our club girls, and it's just adjusting to that. But it's fun just to come back and then play with our teammates, and then just share with them our experience. So it's good.
In the meantime, national coach Unai Sirokora is expected back in the country by the end of the month. Jeremy Mogi, National, EMTV Sports.
Women's football is on the rise in Papua New Guinea. Wewak in East Sepik Province had a feast of football on the weekend with the launching of the Meri Football League. Wewak has been given the opportunity to nurture its young girls in football through the Meri Football program.
The Caltex Sports Oval in Wewak came alive over the weekend when the girls from 5 primary schools in the province marched onto the field with their uniforms for the launching matches. The Meri Football program aims to encourage young girls who want to pursue their dreams in football to participate in football matches in their schools. The hosting of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in November is a catalyst for more women to participate in football development programs leading up to the matches. Despite the Wewak Football Association not being a full member of the PNGFA General Secretary Dimirit Milang, in thanking the Wewak Football Association, especially futsal, said Wewak was selected for the Meri Football program because of talents that have come from futsal to represent PNG.
The opportunity to all the young girls, and we need a new generation of players. So the challenge is on you, and for PNGFA, OFC and FIFA, who have provided all these wonderful uniforms to all our teams. Look after them, take care of them, use them with pride, and we hope that through you we will continue to see more young girls join in the program.
Mr. Milang challenged the Wewak Football Association, saying they were there to launch the program, but the honors was now under management to nurture and make the program grow. Dr. Kalino said they would try to provide whatever support they could give to the Wewak Football Association to ensure that football continues to grow in East Sepik Province. Each of the schools were given shoes, socks, shin pads, uniforms and balls that will be used for the weekend Meri football matches. Elijah Lavet, National, EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. In Capital Rugby, University Piggies have booked a grand final date with the Harlequins in the A-grade division. The Piggies defeated Defence by a point, 26-25, in their clash at Sir John Guy's Stadium yesterday. Deniros Raiko with this story.
Excitement and intensity as University look to dominate their opponents early on. Defence, however, would score first as University struggled to contain their fast rucks. University, however, would commence their own fight back, and by half-time, the scores were a close 18-14 with Defence ahead. The match would get a further intensity in the second half, with both sides fighting to gain control of both possession and territory, with University then taking the lead 21-18. University further extend the lead to 26 points. However, Defence would bring the match to a nerve-wracking one-point ball game, with University holding on to win. Mixed feelings for the Defence coach Sydney Wesley as his Premier Division side qualified for the major grand final.
No, it'll be tough. In fact, I knew from experience a semi-final, especially to qualify for the grand final, it's always tough. And for my boys especially, after having a rest for about almost 3 weeks, I knew we were going to be, rusty. And
the CRU finals will see the Valley Hunters meet Harlequins in the Under-19 division. The A Reserve will have University meet Harlequins. And in the women's final, Spartans meet the Harlequins. Dina Rose Raiko, National, EMTV Sports.
Disappointment today after news that the PNG men's national football team failed to travel to international friendlies in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Whilst the cause for the team's failure to travel is yet to be determined, it is understood that this is a major setback for a team that is considered one of the strongest sides in recent years for the country. With the OFC Nations Cup less than 3 weeks away, this dents the plans of coach Fleming Siritslev, who had been hoping to use the trip to finalize his squad. Attempts to gather responses from the PNG Football Association proved unsuccessful. That ends Trukai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, fine for all centers. In the Momase region, mostly fine for all centers. In the New Guinea Islands region, brief showers for KVN, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe, a shower or two for Buka, and mostly fine for Lorengau. And in the Highlands region, fine, then morning fog for all centers. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samurai Island. Seas 1.0 to 2.0 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Finschhafen through Vietish Strait to Long Island, including CRC Islands, Dampier Strait, with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and with waters of New Island to New Britain to Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, and with waters of Long Island to Medang to Bogia to Wewak to Aitape to Vanimo, and northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas. In the Coral Sea, seas slight to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. In the Solomon Sea and Bismarck Sea, seas slight with southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight to moderate with east to southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. Now recapping our main stories for tonight. Port Moresby Police stopped public gatherings, Fraud Squad office reopened by police, and Eda Ranu says water flow to city will continue uninterrupted. And that's the news, sports and weather for tonight, Monday the 9th of May 2016. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Hope Imaka. Pleasant viewing. Good night.